in this play, we've got three characters, okay? This is a historical fiction play. Their names are Richard Trump, Gerald Pence, and Bernie Carter. Richard Trump, Gerald Pence, Bernie Carter. Okay, so Richard Trump, of course, is combining Richard Nixon and Ivanka Trump. No, it's Donald. Gerald Pence, that's the combination of the world's, greatest vice president to ever become president after a resignation had happened. Gerald Ford and stupid Mike Pence is combined. And Gerald Pence, of course, was born Leslie Ann Jones III. And you have Bernie Carter, who is, Bernie Sanders playing the role of a lifetime, Jimmy motherfucking Carter. The last time I'm going to make the case for impeachment like this, and then I'm moving forward on this, all right? So Richard Trump is a shitty president. Richard Trump is a shitty president who did some illegal shit and was about to be impeached by the House of Representatives at the end of July 1974. So Richard Trump moved into action and he quit his job. After he quit his job, Gerald Pence gets power. Finally, after all these years, right, his path of first Indiana, then the White House, then Earth, then solar system, then the galaxy, then the entire universe. His plan was working out perfectly. At the end of July 1974, Richard Trump was embattled. He was cornered like the corrupt criminal rat that he is. And then on August 9th, 1974, Richard Trump resigns, never to return ever again. The American people lost confidence in the U.S. government, especially Richard Trump and his political party. Gerald Pence wasn't democratically elected. The people knew it. They knew that Gerald Pence's presence he was only there in order to allow despotism to continue forever and ever, since he pardoned the last war criminal. So he could carry a sentence, Gerald Pence could. So an interim government is necessary before the real government was formed, the one that was elected by the American people. We're only supposed to be governed by those we consent to in November 1974, and then 76 for the presidency. So the people lost confidence of Richard Trump, right? Richard Trump had lost the confidence of the people in the Republican Party. Richard Trump and the Republican Party lost the confidence of the American people. Lost confidence of Richard Trump and the Republican Party because of that whole embarrassing impeachment resignation thing. And then that cold November 1974, 49 Republicans were fired from their jobs by the midterm elections. Then Gerald Ford had to battle it out with a super revolutionary House of Representatives that wasn't able to get much done. Then Bernie motherfucking Cartier becomes president November 1976. Then marijuana becomes legal all across the land, and the people were happy. The moral of the story is Gerald Pence was president for nearly 2 whole years, but Gerald Pence didn't get anything worth remembering accomplished. Maybe that's okay. The U.S. still survived. He didn't have any fucked up scandals that ruined his administration. But ultimately, the loss of confidence that accompanied the impeachment/resignation ushered in a veto. Ultimately, the impeachment of Richard Trump, the loss of confidence that accompanied that impeachment/resignation, ushered in a veto-proof Democratic majority in the House of Representatives, who can introduce any constitutional amendments that they wanted to without objection. The Congress had the power. The people had the power. And then Bernie Carter becomes president in 1976 and promptly stops the war. Tulsi Gabbard for president, 2020. So, a couple news items that's consistent with this. You have Tulsi Gabbard, who's trying to pass this law called the Stop Arming Terrorist Act. And I heard Rand Paul has actually joined in with Tulsi Gabbard on this. She sponsored this, and this is against Saudi Arabia and the war in Yemen. According to Tulsi Gabbard here in this Observer.com, Saudi Arabia has spent hundreds of billions of dollars. Well, I had it there for a second. We have Senator Rand Paul is a co-sponsor of the Stop Arming Terrorists Act, and he's joined with most Senate Democrats to block the Trump administration's massive sale of weapons to Saudi Arabia. The $510 million sale continues a long trend of providing Saudi Arabia with weapons that they use to decimate Yemen in war characterized by famine and civilian casualties. Furthermore, it's grossly irresponsible for the United States to provide artillery to one of the most prolific human rights abusers in the world. Now, Tulsi Gabbard, she said, Saudi Arabia has spent hundreds of billions of dollars spreading the Wahhabi Salafist. Has spent hundreds of billions of dollars spreading their extreme Wahhabi Salafist ideology around the world, creating fertile ground for terrorist organizations like ISIS and Al-Qaeda to recruit while simultaneously providing direct support to terrorist groups who pose a direct threat to U.S. interests and who are fighting to overthrow the Syrian government, said Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard in a statement in May 2017. When responding to the announcement of the arms deal, she noted the Trump administration's relationship with Saudi Arabia has been hypocritical to its counterterrorism rhetoric. This hypocrisy continues now as the Trump administration talks tough against ISIS and terrorism while selling weapons to and supporting and praising a country that beheads dissidents, oppresses women, persecutes religious minorities, atheists, and LGBT people, and is the greatest supporter of terror groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS in the world today. This arms deal will enable Saudi Arabia to use U.S.-made weapons in their war crimes against Yemeni civilians in a brutal civil war. Actual summary of H.R. 608, introduced in the House of January 23rd. So we've, a long time, this thing has been debated, has been circulating in Congress. So here's what it says. Stop Arming Terrorist Act. This bill prohibits the use of federal agency funds to provide covered assistance to one Al-Qaeda, Jabhat Fatah al-Sham, the Al-Nusra Front, the Islamic State of Iraq and Levant, ISIL, or any individual group that is affiliated with, associated with, cooperating with, or adherence to such groups, or to the government of any country in that the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, ODNI, determines has, within the most recent 12 months, provided covered assistance to such a group or individual. Covered assistance is defined as defense articles, defense services, training, or logistical support, or any other military assistance. Military assistance provided by grant, loan, credit transfer, or cash sales, intelligence sharing, or cash assistance. So fuck Al-Qaeda, fuck ISIS, and fuck Al-Nusra Front. So these are terrorist organizations. Why the fuck would we give them money? The war on terror actually runs counter to this. I don't even know why we got to pass this statute. Maybe this is a good little litmus test. Let's float this out there, see if people might be a little sick and tired of the fucking war. Then it specifically says what the ODNI needs to do, make within 90 days of this bill's enactment initial determinations about such countries and about whether an individual or group is or has been within the most recent 12 months affiliated with, associated with, cooperating with, or an adherent to Al-Qaeda, Jabhat Fatah al-Sham, or ISIL. Review and make subsequent determination regarding such groups, countries, groups, or individuals every 6 months in consultation with a specified congressional. In 2012, the Washington Post described Al-Nusra as the most successful arm of the rebel forces. We're losing against Taliban in Afghanistan. Al-Nusra, the fucking Al-Qaeda for Syria, which it used to be, but then they said there was a split in July 2016. So it was the official Syrian branch of Al-Qaeda, and then it split. So now you got two different Al-Nusra Front. This is that one weird jihad or whatever. It wasn't ISIS and or Al-Qaeda. This is Al-Nusra, the Al-Nusra Front. In early 2015, there were reports that Qatar and other Gulf states are trying to get Al-Nusra to split away from Al-Qaeda, after which they would support Al-Nusra with money. Western observers and a Syrian observer considered such a split unlikely. In March 2015, Al-Nusra's leadership denied a break